Hello, detectorists and treasure hunters. It's that evening where we have a special guest on my channel. Have a chat about what they've been up to in finding history and everything else that's relative to treasure hunting. And it's my mate, Phil Williams from Happy Detecting. That's his name of his group. And welcome, Phil, and let's find out what he's been up to. Here we go. Hi, Phil. Welcome, matey. Nice to see you back again.
Yes.
So, what machine have you got now, then?
It's a Manticore.
Oh, you got the same as me, mate.
Yeah. I've had it since January. Because I'm partly deaf in one ear,
Right.
I have trouble listening to the tones. So I thought the Manticore screen would help with that.
Right.
It's been useful. It certainly means I don't dig any iron now. Very, very seldom dig any iron at all. It's small or large. Occasionally I do dig large iron that gets a bit, sort of confused on some iron. But 9 times out of 10, I don't dig the iron. I have dug some iron just to make sure I'm not missing things, because obviously, as they say, you should always dig everything. But
it takes time to understand, and once you know how it works,
it took a little bit of a while. I was the second hole I had the machine, first outing on it, I got a nice Roman denarius. Antonius Pius. What's that? AD 64 plus.
It's really early, isn't it?
So that was nice. I thought, oh, this is good. I'm going to have a lot of success with this new Manticore. So recently I found quite a nice half groat. Let's get it up and see if I can not get the light on the machine, on the camera. Yeah. It's a job to get the focusing right on these things.
Half a groat, then.
You can just see the crown of the head anyway. That's obviously a long cross groat, half groat. I'll get the angle on there. But anyway, that's
my
most recent hammered.
Yeah, who was that again? Which king was that?
Sorry, that's Edward III.
Third.
So that's 1360 to 1365.
Nice.
I did find a rather worn Roman, which I was rather pleased with, because I weren't quite sure who the emperor was. But can I get it up again? Yes.
Oh yeah, I got him. Oh yeah, we've got
there.
him.
Yeah. That actually turned out. I put on one of the sites, because I wasn't quite sure, and it turned out to be Claudius. So that's AD 65 coinage.
Nice.
So that's one of the first coins that came over with the Romans.
That's nice.
It was near Leicestershire, so this was too far away from the coast.
What did he call that size of coin, Phil?
Sorry?
What does he call that size of coin?
I think it's an AS3. I think they call it an AS. Unfortunately. But sort of pennies and things, but they're a bit tatty, unfortunately.
Yeah, a bit hammered.
I do find the more modern sort of sixpences and odds and ends. I actually found a nice. I haven't got it with me, but I found quite a nice fourpenny groat.
That's rare.
That was quite nice. Yeah, so bits and pieces, but nothing. No gold, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I've not had any real. I've had plated. Hey, I've got close. I've got plated.
no gold, I'm afraid. But never mind. That's how it goes. But I do find the screen useful, as I say. If I see 2 targets there, we'll find them. It will say, as it will show the iron and a good target sometimes.
That's right.
So about digging. And
I just learned about because it has like a line across the bottom, and if that line is just got a little blob in the middle when you hit the target, apparently that's a good target. That's something else that I've learned.
Yeah, if it was between the, I set the lowest ferro limit in between sort of thing, and obviously if I get something above, that's usually lead. 9 times out of 10 that's lead, or perhaps 8 times out of 10 it's lead. And obviously it depends if there's some iron there. You obviously get the thing moving up towards the iron or down, which depends on which way it is. Big iron or little iron, because little iron comes out on the top of the thing, and obviously the big iron tends to be on the bottom of the display. And with a bit of practice, you get to find this, and it's quite useful. Annoys me a bit is tin cans and can store. They always give a good signal,
They do.
and you think, oh, I've got to dig that, and it's probably can slaw or a can or some description like that.
Yeah, I know.
But you have to dig it because such
You
a
have to
lovely
dig it.
signal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I had a lovely one today, and it was under some bricks. Obviously, it was on a road sort of way, and it was all compacted tile and bricks. It took ages to get down to it, and it actually turned out to be a bit of folded file. But the file was folded several times, so it was a nice solid piece of metal.
Solid sound. I mean, how long have you had your group now, and how many people have you got on your happy?
Okay, well, I've got the on Facebook. I've got the happy detecting.com group, which has been going now for about 2-3 years. Got 1,700 followers at the moment, members of the group. Now, I don't do a lot of active stuff. I just rely on other people to make contributions and so forth.
Oh, okay.
But I did have a website, and it's still out, called happydetecting.com, happydetecting, all one word, .com. John, I just want to mention a couple of things, if I may.
Yes.
One is I don't know if people are aware of the AMDS, Association of Metal Detecting Sports, which is a fairly new group that's set up by a couple of people who separate off from the National Council of Metal Detecting. Right. They found that certain regions weren't getting the right level of resources or being heard. So John Wells, who's the chairman, been president of the National Council for many years, is honorary, I think he's still an honorary member, decided to, with a couple of other members, to form this group. And they offer insurance, which is only £5 for a year, as opposed to £7 or whatever it is for the National Metal Detecting group. And they also advertise a magazine that you can download called The Times, the Metal Detecting Sport, AMDS Times. Right. And I've published a couple of articles in there, and there's lots of other things.
Well, if you can send me a link to that, that'd be great then.
So yeah, I will. And then you can put it on as comments perhaps onto the video. That'd be good.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll link up on that. Definite link up.
Okay. And brings me to the final thing I wanted to discuss with you, if I may. I did try to do it in our last meeting many months ago, but unfortunately the video went wrong or something, didn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I wanted to learn the kings and queens of England, because when I pull a coin out, I like to know what it might be, and if somebody says that's like my half-groat was Edward III, probably, I know that date is Edward III is 1388 to the next king, and so I know most of the dates of the kings and queens, but I had to learn those. And I used the book by a chap called Ed Cook. I get that in the camera. It's called Remember.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think it's out of print there, but you can pick up copies on the.
Can you flick through a few pages, Phil?
Sorry.
Can you flick through some pages?
Yeah, certainly. It's got diagrams in of various. Let me go on to the English bit, because also besides the. Let me see if I can find one with a few more pictures. No. Never have enough for what you want. So this is Henry III being in the thing, and the gate there's got old plants on, and that means the age of Plantagenet, aging. So and the tower there with the 3 spires is said that it reminds you he did 3 things. One was to design castles and cathedrals in particular. He founded Oxford, for instance, and so forth. And there's lots of little tidbits that take you through the kings and queens by memory. There's 3 memory techniques I use. One is the journey method, which is what Ed Cook uses in these. So on the story of the kings and queens of England, he takes you as a schoolboy through getting up in the morning, going through the bathroom, downstairs, etc. And everywhere he goes, he meets all the kings and queens doing different things.
Oh, I see.
So he starts off with Offa, be waking him up with an offal coming down on his head, all smelly. Because to make it memorable, you have to make an image, colourful, smelly, noisy, to make it stick in your mind. So Offa is offal coming down on his head, and beside his bed is a clock, which is a Mercedes-shaped clock, which tells you he's Mercian, he's King of Mercia. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
time on that is 757, which was the date when he became king of Mercia.
Oh, right.
And then when he goes into to try and wash off the offal, he goes through to the landing, and there's a Wessex helicopter, the one flying above, and that reminds you now going into the House of Wessex.
Oh,
Okay,
I see.
and then you meet the next king, which is an egg that bursts inside the bath, and that's Egbert.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you meet the next one, which is a wolf in a bottle. Now he has various things to help you remember things. So anybody who's Ethelstan, for instance, or that what's Ethel? So Ethelwood is the
Yeah,
anybody in the
you do.
bottle is related to Ethel.
Are they Saxon kings then we're talking there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They go obviously through to the Norman period.
Not yes.
So through the house, he goes through the kitchen and meets quite a few of the Saxon kings. Edgar and Egwig and Edward the Martyr and so forth. And then he goes into the Danish room. He goes in the front room to try and get something to eat. And it's the Danish room. So he's got Sven, the footballer manager, he used to be. He's Sven Forkbeard. Okay, the first Saxon king who didn't last very long. And then you've got Canute and all the other Saxon Danish kings, get it right.
Yes.
And then he goes outside, and then you have a piece of wood falling down onto his car, and that is Edward, and he confesses that he'll pay for the insurance.
Oh, I see, Edward.
And then he goes into Norman Street, and William the Conqueror, bashing the bus, and then there's buses and things and all sorts of things. And then he goes on the journey through the school. Then he goes for his lunch, for instance. He goes into the Stuart. They all have Stuart, the House of Stuart, and so forth.
Yes.
And then finally ends up with a race. So there's two races. They do a relay race, which goes through the Georges, 1, 2, 3, 4, and William, Bird, and then go Queen Victoria, and obviously there's another final race to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen. Now, this was written a few years ago, so we haven't got Charles in there.
So this information is trying to help you to remember the kings and queens.
So it takes you through a journey. You just got to go through that journey, going through the bedroom to the bathroom, down the stairs.
That's the way he's done it. I see.
Where you have to go over a mound of heads. That's Edmund, And if you want to know the dates, he's got a subtle sort of guy. He's dressed as a soldier with a gun. And he's 1,000 years exactly to the Second World War.
Oh, I see.
That's how you remember some of the dates and things like that.
He's picked things to try to remember the Second World War, hasn't he? Oh, that's awesome, is that? Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's a very good book to buy. It's only originally it was £12.99, but you can pick them up on eBay for £7 or £8 plus postage. And I've got a few copies. If anybody can't trace one, let me know, and I'll certainly can supply that for them. Now, the other thing that's useful because I want to know the dates, not only the kings and queens and the sequence, which I can do forwards and backwards, but I want to know the dates when somebody ended their reign or mostly died, of course. And what I did is take the last 2 digits, because I usually work out the century by the order, and then I use what I call a master system. If you Google that, it turns numbers into words.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So if you say, an example I use is say 22, okay, which is Henry V died in 14. 14, get it right. 1422. And I remember him with a nun. So it uses these numbers. So 1 is T or D. And 2 is N. It's got 2 strokes, and M is 3, and so forth. So you can make up words from these, and that's quite useful for remembering pins, pin numbers for your card and that. So I'll put some examples in the time. That's another technique. So we've got the journey method, which is useful to tie images to. You remember things. And on top of that, if you want extra, you can add the dates by using this master memory technique. by using these letters to work into words.
Yeah.
And the final technique that I use is what I call the memory palace. Okay.
Right.
So I've used that for my Roman emperors. I've actually done a few drawings ready, but just an example, for instance. Now, obviously, I start off my story with the Roman emperors. Outside, it's freezing, okay, and the thermometer's saying -44, and the emperor being stabbed, and he's roaring, and RR is 44. Okay, which reminds you that he got assassinated in 44 BC. Yeah, so he is number 1, and he's holding a calendar up, of course, which is August, to remind you that it's Augustus.
Yes.
He's wearing a tie. Tie is number 1 in this coding system. Yeah, and obviously that tells you what's going on there. And say, for instance, the next one, can you guess who that might be? You remember? Now, this person is tying beer bottles on a curtain, and there's smoke. Okay, and that's Captain Kirk.
Oh, yes.
Tiberius Kirk. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Tying beer bottles on the curtains because in my hall, what I've done, I've made a memory palace in my hall.
Right.
So the first thing is the door, and the last thing is always the light in the room, and then I go around the room clockwise. So the second thing in my hall is the curtains.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason for the smoke is because that means 37 in my number system. So I have 87 emperors listed. And I've mentioned those. Some of those are mentioned on my articles are written in the AMDS Times.
Okay.
So the reason why I do that is not just to learn for the sake of learning, but because that's when you get old, you know, I'm not that young. One thing you find that, you know, if you don't get your brain active, you can suffer Alzheimer's disease and things like this. So it's important
a memory thing
to keep, you know, remembering things.
Yeah. Have you ever been out on any digs then with anybody, or just generally going?
Yeah, you know, I go regularly with various clubs around the region, sort of south of Birmingham, Solihull, heart of England with Phhil, Phhil.
Phhil.
One I went to today near Henley-on-Thames, just below Birmingham. The Convo and the Mercians. Of course, I go out with them occasionally. So they're based sort of south of Birmingham. I live near Coventry, so I like the Midlands area one. So no,
that's great machine. I like it. Well, that's brilliant. Well, it's been brilliant talking to you again and getting some heads up of what you've been up to.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we'll link up sometime, maybe 3 or 4 months, and you can let us know anything else that you've found. Okay. It's all about educating and knowledge of what the machines are doing, technology and finds. I'm thanking you very much for being on. That's really kind of you. Well, that was brilliant with my mate Phil. We've got some very interesting knowledge there of how to remember your kings and queens, and he's got the Manticore like me, and so I'll probably be linking up and learning each other, because I'm obviously still learning a bit of Manticore. But it's been brilliant having that interview with Phil. I'm thanking him very much, and if you don't mind, please can you subscribe, and we will catch you on another interview next week. And who we got next week? We have Mark Hoover from USA next week, 9 o'clock on Saturday. So thank you very much, and we'll see you later.